Thanks for downloading a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online. Now stay tuned for your 3CR podcast.
Sabah al-Khair, good morning dear listeners. You're listening to Radio 3CR on 855 AM and Palestine Remembered with Robert Martin, Nasser Mashni and Yusuf Ahmed al-Rimawi.
Palestine Remembered is Australia's only English-language radio program that is totally dedicated to Palestine. We'd like to welcome those listening on 855 and those that will join us on podcast at 3cr.org.au.
Thanks for joining us. Stay with us and enjoy the episode.
Nasser and Robert, good morning.
Morning, boys.
Good morning, everybody, and good morning, you two.
So, this is another episode, and we have an important update, not a good one though. So this week, our Prime Minister announced...
last week, Yusuf.
Last week.
Yes.
Gave a very controversial announcement. Nobody expected that. And
we should say nobody expected, not his...
not even his own
cabinet members, not the Defence Chief of Staff.
So let's start from scratch. What happened last week?
Well, as we know, with Scott Morrison now being the Prime Minister of Australia and following the downfall of Malcolm Turnbull, the by-election was called in the seat of Wentworth, a seat with a 12.5 to 13% Jewish constituency.
I think it is 12%, yes.
Yeah, 12.5 to 13%. And what we saw was the most extreme form of pandering to a group ever seen, I think, in Australian democracy, and a cheapening of our democracy to the point of irrelevance. And you know, when we break it down, one of the things that we'll talk about in a second, Yusuf, but the announcement was made on Tuesday with the former ambassador to Israel, David Sharma, who doesn't live in the seat, promised to move into the seat, who was running for the seat of Wentworth. Who had written an op-ed saying...
last December.
Yeah, saying that what Donald Trump was proposing was right, the negotiations aren't going anywhere, so what we should do is mix things up and change a new tactic, reward the oppressor, recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, don't worry about the Palestinians. The fact that, back in 1948, if we were to accept that resolution, Jerusalem was to be corpus separatum. It was supposed to be an international city administered by the United Nations as a separate state, a separate area for all three religions.
Sorry to stop you, but just on this particular point, he contradicted himself, because last December he wrote an article arguing that Australia should be careful in not necessarily following the footsteps of Trump when it comes to the embassy. So within a few months, he changed his mind and he put a suggestion to our Prime Minister. And the suggestion is that we should recognize Jerusalem, or we should move our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
And their argument, I think it's fallacious, but their argument is we're moving it to West Jerusalem, which in any two-state solution would be the capital of Israel, and Israel should have its right to declare its capital where it wants. It shouldn't be up to the rest of the world to decide. Well, the reality is that Israel was created by the rest of the world on the pretext of Palestine ceasing to exist.
Let's go to the text of the joint media statement. I won't read it, but I will just read the 4 points. Number one, it said that Australia will vote no in the upcoming UN General Assembly resolution on the Palestinian Authority, chairing the Group 77. So that's another time where Australia isolates itself with the famous two, Israel and the United States, versus the whole world in when it comes to Palestine. So that's number one. Number two, that's the important one, is that the government will carefully examine the argument put forward by Australia's former ambassador to Israel, David Sharma, like you said, Nasser, that we should consider recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel without prejudices to its final boundaries. Just broad text, but it's actually doing what Trump did last December. The third one is to upgrade the Australian-Israeli relations to include defense attaché. And the final one is to review Australia's position on the Iran nuclear deal. So that came last Tuesday in the press conference. And
we should say why it came. Here we are in a seat that the right side of politics, the Liberal Party and its predecessors, has held since Federation. It's never been independent or Labor. It's only ever been Liberal.
That's amazing in itself.
They've held it. The swing required was 17%, which means it's a very, very, very safe seat. To their credit, I think the Labor Party knew they couldn't win, but ran we're not going to try to win, but we're not going to try and lose, and we're going to try and help the Liberal Party. They were very strategic, the Labor Party. You have to give them credit. And Morrison and Sharma on Tuesday went, hold on a second, 13% of its population is Jewish. Ordinarily politicians open up a school or a hospital or build a pool. What they've gone is, these Australians, what we're going to do is reward them in Israel. We'll give them an attaché. We'll vote no in the upcoming UN General Assembly. We'll move Tel Aviv, and we'll move our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and we'll say we're out of the G7 or whatever it is for Iran. G77 for Iran. So we've cheapened our democracy to the point where we're rewarding a constituency within a formerly safe Liberal seat in a foreign way, in a country that is foreign to the constituency we're in, without telling our defence forces to upgrade security at all our bases, without consideration as to the significant disparity in trade between Arab and Muslim countries in Australia and the State of Israel and Australia, whilst we're trying to organise a free trade agreement with Indonesia. Whilst the Palestinian Foreign Minister is in Indonesia at the same time. I mean, the stupidity of Scott Morrison and David Sharma, over and above which they've cheapened the Palestinians and our just rights to Jerusalem. And we remind our listeners that the Jerusalem Al-Quds Peace Prize on the 29th of November, go to jerusalempeaceprize.com to get your tickets, that Jerusalem is ours. He cheapened it to a point where it was a trading card to get 13% of that constituency of Wentworth to vote for him. The stupidity of this man is that observant Jews who observe the Sabbath
had already voted.
Won't vote on a Saturday. They'd already voted. A. B. There's 87% of the constituency that is not Jewish. Many of them are liberal voters.
And C, not every Jewish person will accept this bribe.
Well, let's just go to the 87%.
Yeah.
Because you just have to win a majority of the 87% to end up 50, yeah? The 87% that's not Jewish, how many of those people went cynically, who went, this is such a cynical, cheap ploy to win an election? Like just normal people who went, I voted Liberal my whole life. I'm a rich white person, live in Bondi or live in Rose Bay. I mean, it's tra-la-la. This is like the best.
This is one of the fancy suburbs of Sydney.
Not just the fancy. I mean, we're talking houses that are 10, 20, 50, $100 million, They're there going, are you serious? This is what our Prime Minister is going to do on the Tuesday before a by-election, is to come here and promise a constituency of this seat something overseas. You're going to compromise our foreign relations, our foreign policy, our defence force to win this by-election here for the 13% of the constituency that's Jewish. There will have been people there who went, I was going to vote Liberal, but I can't vote Liberal for somebody that's stupid.
Robert,
and it backfired too, horrifically.
He lost by 1,700 votes. I mean, Phelps is only up by 1,700 votes.
Didn't it also go against what Turnbull and Bishop have always said, that we're not going to move the embassy? It's part of, it's going to ruin the peace process.
The whole world has said that, other than Guatemala and the idiot Trump.
Look, this is a very important point to raise, Robert, because this is in contradiction not only to the bipartisan agreement or to the historic position of Australia's foreign policy on Palestine/Israel, this is in contradiction to his own
party.
His own party, and including the former cabinet, like you said, Turnbull and Bishop considered that, and then they thought maybe no, because it will put our national interests.
Well, even it went against
jeopardy.
America. And that's very, very unusual that when America moved it, we were asked, and Bishop and Turnbull both said, no, we're not going to do it.
We're not going to consider it this time.
No. Yeah.
Because it does not serve our national.
So it shows a desperate Prime Minister trying to get votes. And it's as a Palestinians, the two of you, you should be affronted that, they're using you as pawns. But it happens all the time within our government.
And also, Robert, on our way here, you and I raised the point that, every commentator in Australia who opposed this move and said that it's a silly one and doesn't serve Australia's interests, said that on the basis that it's
Indonesia.
It's Indonesia and our potential deals with the Arab world, not on the basis of morality, not on the basis that this is the wrong thing to do to the oppressed people. I want
but
to
it affects free trade with Indonesia.
I want to see people in Australia, or commentators, hopefully, who will just question the ethics and morality of
I think in mainstream you're not going to see it, but you've got the New Matilda. These other, which are very, very small newspapers, are talking about it. In the mainstream, I don't see it happening for a while.
To be fair, New Matilda, crikey, absolutely, fully on board from the humanitarian perspective. But that being said, when the Australian writes an editorial, regardless of why they justified the erroneous position that Morrison took, when a Murdoch national broadsheet says you're an idiot, I mean,
you're an idiot.
Then you are an idiot,
and you're on the right wing, and you're the Prime Minister. You're a card carrying idiot. You pull out your business card. It says, "I am the idiot."
But the problem is they're not talking about the
Legally
Palestinian humanity, the human rights. They're saying it's nothing to do with them. It's going to affect the Indonesian free trade.
Well, no, I think. Well, so there was I can't remember who the author was, but in the Australian, Rob, who didn't mention any of that. He said that's the whole issue has got. It's irresponsible for a Prime Minister to bring a foreign policy issue into a domestic by-election and that constituency. Yeah. Don't worry about the humanity. Don't worry about trade. What are you doing? I mean, it's so cheap and so it's like putting the ball under 3 cups. I mean, it's slow motion stupidity. You're a car.
It's almost treasonous.
Dr. Tony,
not that far.
No.
Dr. Tony Walker from La Trobe University said that I can think of no other example in Australian political history where a foreign policy issue with far-reaching implications for national security has been considered because of the concerns about the loss of a single seat. So this is unprecedented.
Yeah, well, the really, really good thing is it exposed the impetus of our Zionist enemies. The Executive Council of Australian Jewry, the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies, they all organised a speakers forum so that the candidate forum so they could speak to the constituency. They didn't invite the 16 people. They invited I think 4, but definitely 3. Phelps, the Liberal, Sharma, and the Labor guy. I think it's Tim Murray, and I think a 4th. But definitely the 3 and maybe a 4th. And they, what's your position on
Iran?
Israel? What's your position on Iran? And, put them under the grill. I mean, the reality is Phelps converted to Judaism when she married her partner. She's in a same-sex marriage, and she converted to Judaism, Karen Phelps. And, we weren't invited to that. Strangely, Nasser Ahmed Al-Rumawi and Yusuf Ahmed Al-Rumawi and Robert Ahmed Al-Rumawi weren't invited to that briefing. But, they put them up to really grill them, to make sure their position was right. And they used all of their power. The rabbis were talking in temples, etc. Although one rabbi did say, don't vote Liberal because of their climate change policy. But anyway, that's as an aside. The Jews of Wentworth did not vote as the Zionist ECAG, Executive Council of Australian Jewry, and the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies had wanted to. Because if the Jews en masse voted exactly Sharma 1, Phelps 10 or 20 or whatever on the...
He would have been safe.
He would have been safe. There's no question. So they were not able to deliver.
In other words, there is a shift in the Australian jury from its historical unconditional support of Israel.
Well, I don't know that there's ever been unconditional support. What the...
Or let's say the vast majority.
Australia, Israel, Jewish Affairs Council, AJAC, the ECAJ, etc. These non-elected representative bodies, these are non-elected. There is no... they're not based out of the constituency of the Jewish community. They are non-elected representative bodies. Have been able to use a stick upon our politicians and media to say, A, B, C, D, E. And here they were in Wentworth saying, this is what we need you to say. Come to our public forum. What's your position on A, B, C, D, E? And in the end, delivered nothing.
So, have we heard of that from them since? Have they spoken about it? Because I heard Alec Rivkin on all of the shows before that. I wonder what he said since.
Yeah, he said nothing. So it'd be. I hope that our politicians take away from this the next time they get a call saying you should come on a fully on business class trip to Israel and have a look what a thriving, beautiful democracy we are and how well we oppress people so that you can use the same munitions and police training techniques here in Australia. That they would say no, because there is no reason for us to be scared or manipulated by this lobby, because they are able to deliver nothing for Malcolm Turnbull.
And also,
Morrison
visited the Beth Weizmann organization in Melbourne on Saturday. So that was on Saturday. And then the thing was on Tuesday. And then according to the Facebook page of that organization, they said that Morrison reiterated the government support. And I find it difficult to believe that the embassy issue was not brought up in that.
We're an embarrassment.
The reality is Scott Morrison's the Prime Minister of Australia. If you celebrate God on a Saturday and you're an Australian, you're an Australian. There's nothing wrong with Scott Morrison visiting a temple or a synagogue and speaking to his
timing.
Yeah, of course. Speaking to his constituency. He should be doing that. He should also be going to churches and mosques, etc., etc., etc. The fact that he's choosing to do it at a time in the electoral cycle where he is seeking to sway 13% of a population by promising not things that would reward Australians in Australia.
It's not something that ordinary people will benefit from.
It's not. And when you put that into a global context, we're wrong. We're on the wrong side of history. And this is the hurtful thing. I mean, aside from the fact that we're Palestinian, Yusuf, you and I, and we care about this situation, just as a human being, it's just not right. It's just not right. Now, if he was there saying, I'm going to build a new school in this suburb and we've got to upgrade that road and I want a new train station, well, that's what you can do because we're going to upgrade the NBN. That's what politicians do, is spend money in that constituency.
For our community.
But, to say you're going to move the embassy from Tel Aviv
to Jerusalem, foreign issue.
For $200 million, a cost for zero. We're getting nothing out of it other than to endeavour to do something different for the moribund peace process. I mean, it's fallacious. And his constituency said no. I mean, 1,700 votes. That's not a huge number. I am sure that Scott Morrison cost himself Liberal voters, but he also cost himself Jewish secular votes. There would have been Jews there that went, I'm actually, I'm not that cheap. My vote is not that cheap.
So that's like you said, doing the wrong thing. Doing the wrong thing wrong.
We did the wrong thing wrong, but he also does a disservice to the Jews. It's a disservice to think that they are that cheap. That they've got concerns about climate change. The Jews have got concerns about children in Nauru. The Jews of Wentworth have got concerns about school safety. They've got same concerns about LGBTI rights. They're a community like everybody else, like all of us. But to singularly say to 13% of Wentworth, guess what, I've got a great prize behind door number 1 for you. I mean, it's
Thanks,
so...
but no.
I mean, he's cheapened them to a point. I mean, we've been accused of being anti-Semites, but I reckon that's got to be some form of anti-Semitism. To say, here you go, Jews, I've got a prize for you, vote for me.
As Palestinians, does the turnaround of the vote give you some hope? I mean,
Well, it gives me, it makes me feel good because it's proof that Jews are not one homogenous body. They think and feel as everybody else does on particular issues differently.
No, I'll tell you, last Saturday, within my friends' circles, it was a weekend, and I've never heard or seen my friends are as much interested in the internal politics as much they were last weekend. Yeah. Everybody was talking. Have you heard the news? Yeah. Any news? Anything about the Wentworth? All of a sudden, we're talking about Wentworth. I've never heard of this ever before. And then so to answer your question, yes, this is an issue of much importance. It was to us, and it was so good to see the Liberals lose because of what they did.
And it's put it on the news because everyone's discussing it on different sides.
I mean, from our point of view, I've never ever followed the Wentworth by-election. I mean, the reality is it's been Malcolm Turnbull's seat for
so it's never going to change.
A decade and a half. If Malcolm Turnbull was running, he would have still won 17 or 18 or 20%. There's no question. But and up until the Tuesday, I didn't think that they could lose. But on the Tuesday, when he opened his mouth like that, I went, I mean, it's too late for us to move to Wentworth and register to vote and get on the electoral roll and etc.
Short notice.
Sure, it's a bit tough for us to go up there and try and swing the seat in a branch stack. But up until that point, agnostic, because it's such a safe Liberal seat. How do you lose it? Yeah. But then at that point, you go, aside from the question of Palestine, I mean, we have to remember, we're Australians, all three of us Australians. You have cheapened Australian politics like no other politician has ever done before. And to the point where that constituency that you were trying to bribe refuted you. Because it didn't work.
And what he actually said was trying to connect it to the peace process by saying this, let's try more innovative things. And he wanted to sound like he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. That if you've done something for so long and it didn't achieve results, it's a time to do something new. So he used the words innovative. He used the word sensible. He used words that are in no way reflection to what he actually did. To maybe convince the Palestinian to go back to negotiations, to in doing service to the peace process, which is nonsense, which is rubbish. Australia will never influence the future of the peace process to start with. Australia is a marginal body when it comes.
The reality is that Australia is a middle power. Now, if he wanted to do something innovative, he would say, you know what, it hasn't worked. There's a power disparity.
Yeah, let's address occupation.
Yeah, Israel is supported by the one global superpower. Israel is a nuclear-armed state. The Palestinians have been oppressed for 51, 71 years, 48, 67. There's
been given nothing.
Given nothing. The settlements are growing. Jordan Valley is being stolen off them. Wall encroaching on land. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to recognise the state of Palestine on the 49 armistice line.
That's innovative.
I'm going to declare East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine. I'm going to cease trading with Israel because it's a rogue apartheid state that doesn't comply with international law. And I'm going to be advocating for other like-minded countries to follow me. And he would get my vote.
How good is that?
That's innovative. That's
innovative. And he would be a leader. Yeah. I mean, they would assassinate.
Not following.
He wouldn't be the leader of the party the day after. But
I want to elaborate on one of the sentences in the media statement where it says, while acknowledging East Jerusalem as the expected capital of a future Palestinian state. Now, this is delusional because it gives the impression that he's being fair. So he will recognize West Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel, and will recognize East Jerusalem to be the capital of Palestine. By the sound of it, that's fine, that's fair, and that's what the Palestinians are advocating for. But in reality, when you recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, ask Israel what they think of Jerusalem. The Israelis, what they've been doing for the last 50 years is that they're acting and talking about greater Jerusalem municipality. And greater Jerusalem municipality means
all of it.
Annexing what they occupied in 48, what is today called West Jerusalem, to what they occupied in 67, what is called East Jerusalem. And not only annexing the land, also importing and implanting
People?
settlements.
Yeah.
Yes, settlements. By importing settlers from Canada, from America, and from Russia and all around the world on the expense of the landowners, and by provoking the permanent residencies. Because imagine you were a citizen of a state and then the next morning your land is occupied and then you became a permanent resident, not a citizen. And while revoking the citizenship and permanent residency of the Palestinians of Jerusalem to change the demography. So if you want to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, then you are endorsing and legalizing and legitimizing, first, occupation, second, colonization and settlement, third, revoking the or ethnic cleansing of East Jerusalem, and the list goes on and on. So Australia has said it for the first time that yes, we're fine with all that, and we endorse everything Israel wants to do in Jerusalem.
Mm-mm. And we should say rewarding as well.
Rewarding the wrongdoer.
So in the statement, it actually says consider.
Consider.
Yeah, it doesn't actually say we're going to do it. So on top of that, he's there with Morrison's there with Sharma on Tuesday, saying on Saturday vote for me because I'm going to consider. So it's a bribe that he's got a hand behind his back with his fingers crossed. Like if we win, we're going to consider it. I mean, it's not even a real bribe.
It's a typical politician.
He's so
used car
cheap.
salesman.
It's just wrong on every level.
He's so cheap, and pandering so lowly. And the problem now is that the next Prime Minister, this has become what our politicians are expected to deliver to their constituency. And beyond the implications for Palestine, what this means for our country's future, our children, whether it be in roads or hospitals, education, immigration, all the things that our politicians are supposed to be doing. We've lowered the bar so low now that, you'd have, even a worm couldn't get underneath it anymore.
And in the press conference, he said, we're open. So he used the words like consider and we're open to.
I mean, if you're going to bribe properly, go in hard. If you let us win,
we're
going to move it. We're going to, there's no such thing as a Palestinian. Vote for me. I mean, if you really want to go hard.
It was great to see the community of Melbourne, Sydney and Adelaide all actually decide to have protests to show their solidarity with Palestine, but also to throw a throwback towards the government of, trying to bribe constituents. So it was really good. We've said many, many times that the people don't represent, or the government doesn't represent the people's thoughts, and hopefully over time that will change.
One of the things that we should endeavour, each of our listeners, over the next week, go find a friend and shake them out of their safe space. Overwhelmingly, Australians support Palestinian rights.
Let's mention the poll.
We'll get to the poll in a second. But overwhelmingly, Yusuf, they do. But they're quiet. They're quiet on Palestine, and because they're fearful. Well, this election has shown that there is nothing to fear about. Nothing to fear. What the calling of all of the candidates to a Jewish candidate evening where they were asked questions proved that there's no stick. I mean, if Sharma had won by 18%, then you go, wow,
there's a stick.
Not only did he keep all of the Liberal voters, but he got enough of the Jewish vote. So necessarily, in fact, the Executive Council of St. Jury in New South Wales, Jewish Board of Deputies, they were actually right. They were able to coalesce their entire community and maintain the seat for the Morrison Liberal government. The fact is they weren't. So for our listeners, go find one of your friends and tell them that they need to be outspoken for Palestine. Support boycotts, divestments and sanctions. Sign a petition. Go to apan.org.au or bdsaustralia.net.au or to any of the other Palestinian support groups. Join, donate, participate.
And also ask your local MP to consider recognizing the state.
Yeah.
And another good thing that our listeners could do actually is send our podcast, because we've had all the different subjects. People can learn from it, send questions in. But you're right, you've got to start the conversation somewhere.
Well, when you speak to anybody, they go, yes, we're on your side and whatever. We need you not to support us in quiet. Don't support us over a coffee.
Well, it's not supporting, is it?
Support out loud. Because at some point Palestine's going to be free, and you want to say that you're on the right side of the conversation. You were not quiet.
And the whole thing starts with one simple sentence. Let's talk Palestine. And with this, we've come to the end of
Another great show.
Thank you, guys. And
thank you, Yusuf.
Is that Yusuf Ahmed Rimawi?
And Robert
Over
Ahmed
here?
Martin.
Maybe. I think it actually might be.
And Nasser Ahmed Al-Mashni. Until we meet next Saturday, this is the three of us wishing you the best of time and salam.